Under the twin moons of Leora 9, a small alien girl sat beside a rusted landing pad, clutching a silver pendant in her trembling hand. Every evening she waited there, eyes fixed on the dark sky where ships came and went. Hoping one would finally bring her parents back, they had promised to return. They had said it would only take one rotation, but rotations turned into years, and still they never came. Her name was Elira, small and fragile, with pale lilac skin and glowing amber eyes that reflected every light in the night sky. The old townsfolk of Outpost Delta had stopped asking when her parents would return. They pitied her, called her the waiting child. Some said her parents were explorers lost in a storm. Others whispered darker things, that they had sold her for fuel credits and left. Elira didn't believe any of them. She believed her parents would come back for her because they had to. Every day she repaired the beacon her father built, a small transmitter on the edge of the old pad. Its signal was weak, its energy cell dying, but it blinked every night, a fading message to a family lost among the stars. Elira was only 12 when the humans came to Outpost Delta, miners and traders settling on the cold rock world. Most aliens kept their distance from humans. They said humans were trouble. They said humans were unpredictable, but Elira, she was curious. She used to sneak to the trade docks, hiding behind cargo crates, watching human ships unload bright containers filled with food, water, and tools. They looked so different, tall, rough, strange, but they laughed loudly and worked together like they'd known each other forever. One of them noticed her one day, a young man in a dusty jacket and broken gloves. His name was Aaron. He saw her sitting near the beacon, shivering under her thin blanket as cold winds blew through the outpost. He asked gently, "Hey kid, what are you doing out here alone?" Elira didn't answer. She didn't trust humans, no one did. But Aaron didn't leave. He just sat beside her in silence. Watching the stars too, after a while he said softly, "Someone you're waiting for?" Her small voice cracked. "My parents. They'll come soon, they promised." Aaron looked at the beacon, its light flickering weakly, and something in his chest tightened. He didn't say it, but he could tell. The beacon hadn't sent a clear signal in years that night. When Elira went to her tiny shelter, a cracked dome built from scrap metal, she dreamed again. Dreamed of her mother's soft voice, her father's promise, the laughter that once filled their ship. But when she woke, there was only silence outside. The storm winds howled, and the beacon's light finally went out. The next day, Elira ran to the pad in panic, hitting the beacon with her small fists. "Please work. Please, they won't find me without you," she cried. Aaron saw her from across the outpost and rushed to her side. He knelt beside the broken transmitter, eyes scanning the cracked wires and burned circuits. Hey, easy," he said. "We'll fix it, okay?" Elira looked up, tears on her cheeks. You know how?" Aaron smiled faintly. "I used to fix comms units on Earth. I can try." For the first time, she let someone touch the beacon. Hours passed as Aaron worked, connecting old wires, scavenging parts from his ship's toolbox. The girl watched every move, her hope burning bright again. When he finally closed the panel and hit the switch, the beacon flickered once, twice, then glowed steady. Elira gasped, clutching her pendant. "It's working." "They'll see it now." Aaron smiled, hiding the truth in his eyes. He knew the signal was too weak to reach beyond the nearby sector. But he didn't tell her, not yet. As they sat there under the fading sunlight, Elira whispered, "Thank you, human." Aaron looked at the sky, his expression darkening. "Don't thank me yet, kid," he said quietly. Sometimes the truth hurts more than silence. The wind carried his words away, but Elira didn't hear. She was watching the horizon, waiting for the ship she believed would come. And somewhere deep inside the human's heart, a question grew. What kind of world would leave a child waiting this long, and why did no one ever come back for her? Night fell over Outpost Delta, a world of metal and dust where stars looked close enough to touch. Elira sat beside her repaired beacon, eyes full of hope, whispering into the wind. "Come back soon, Mama." "Papa," she said softly, clutching her pendant tight. The beacon blinked steady now, each flash painting her small face in silver light. She believed that somewhere across the endless sky, her parents would see it and return. Aaron watched her from a distance, leaning against his old cargo hauler. Something about that girl unsettled him. Her loneliness, her belief, her endless waiting. He had seen a lot of lost souls in his life, but never one who still smiled through heartbreak. Later that night, curiosity got the better of him. He decided to take another look at the beacon. While Elira slept in her small shelter, he knelt beside the transmitter and opened the control panel again. The wiring was a mess of alien tech, mixed with human parts someone had added later. Aaron frowned, tracing the wires until he noticed something strange. A locked data chip buried under the power cell. It was old, scratched, hidden deliberately. He hesitated, then pulled out his portable reader and connected it. The small screen flickered to life, showing a message file encrypted and blinking red. When he decrypted it, his blood ran cold. It wasn't a distress beacon, it was a warning. The message contained coordinates, names, and a transmission log dated 8 years ago. A woman's trembling voice filled the screen. "If anyone finds this, do not let her beacon be traced. They're after her, our daughter. Please keep her safe." Then the sound of gunfire, a scream, and silence. Aaron's hand shook as he pulled the chip out. He looked toward Elira's shelter. Her small silhouette curled under the blanket, unaware of everything. Her parents hadn't abandoned her, they had died protecting her, but who were they? Who were the ones hunting a child? Morning came, and Elira woke with a bright smile. She ran to him, saying, "Did you see any ships last night?" Aaron forced a smile. "Not yet, maybe tonight." He couldn't tell her. Not until he knew the full truth over the next few days. He began asking quiet questions around the outpost. Some of the older alien traders turned pale when he mentioned her parents' names. One whispered, "Don't dig, human." Her family was royal blood. Scientists who crossed the syndicate. "You'll get yourself killed." Aaron felt a chill. Royal blood meant danger, and danger meant someone still wanted that girl gone. That night, as Elira worked on painting her shelter walls with bright colors, Aaron sat inside his ship, decoding the rest of the chip. Hidden behind the message was a second file, coordinates of a secret vault deep in the wasteland. It read, "Backup core, for Elira, when she's ready." He stared at it, realizing it could hold the truth her parents left behind. He stepped outside, finding Elira sitting near the beacon, humming softly. "Hey kid," he said, "you ever been beyond the canyon ridge?" She looked up curious. "No, Papa said it was dangerous. Why?" He smiled faintly. "Because I think your parents left you something out there." Her eyes widened. "You mean, they're coming back?" Aaron hesitated, then said gently, "Maybe not in the way you think. But yes, they left something for you." The next morning, they set out across the wasteland on Aaron's old hoverbike. Dust storms swirled, the sky turned amber, and Elira clung tightly to his jacket. The ride was rough, but her heart raced with hope again. When they reached the ridge, they saw ancient ruins half buried in the sand, an old facility, marked with strange glowing symbols that matched the pendant around her neck. Inside, the air was thick and silent. They followed a tunnel until they reached a sealed door. Elira's pendant began to glow, reacting to the symbols on the wall. Aaron stared as the door hissed open, revealing a small room with a crystal-like console in the center. "Looks like this place was waiting for you," Aaron whispered. Elira stepped closer, touching the console, and the room lit up with holographic stars. A soft voice filled the air. It was her mother's voice. "My little Elira. If you're seeing this, it means we couldn't come back. But we never stopped loving you." The girl froze, tears streaming down her face as the hologram showed her parents smiling. Holding her as a baby, Aaron turned away. His throat tightening, the message continued. "They will come for you again, Elira. Trust no one from the syndicate. Find the one who bears the mark of Earth. Only he can keep you safe." The hologram flickered, showing a faint symbol, an old Earth insignia, the same one sewn on Aaron's jacket. Elira gasped, looking at him with wide eyes. "That's you!" Aaron's heart pounded. "I don't understand." But deep inside, something told him. Her parents had known he'd find her one day. As the lights dimmed, the console shut down, leaving only silence and the sound of Elira's quiet sobs. Aaron placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone anymore," he said softly. But in the shadows above, a hidden drone watched them, red light blinking, transmitting their location across the galaxy. The wind screamed across the barren ridges of Leora 9 as Aaron packed up the last of their gear. The hologram chamber had gone dark, and Elira stood frozen before the empty console, Her small hands trembled as she held the pendant that had unlocked everything. Her mother's voice still echoed in her head. Trust no one from the syndicate. Find the one who bears the mark of Earth. She turned toward Aaron, her eyes glimmering with confusion and fear. You knew my parents? She asked softly. Aaron shook his head. No, I didn't, but somehow they knew me. He looked down at the old patch stitched to his jacket, the insignia of an Earth rescue fleet he had once served. Before his ship crashed, before he ended up mining scrap just to survive. Now that same patch had turned him into the key protector of an alien child. They started their journey back before dawn. The horizon glowing faint blue under the twin moons, the air was heavy with dust, and the hoverbike hummed as they crossed the canyon path. Elira clung to him, watching the stars fade behind the rising sun. Do you think they're watching us now? She asked. Aaron hesitated, glancing at the rear sensor screen. Let's hope not, he said quietly. But someone was watching high above them. A black drone followed silently, its signal beacon pulsing with crimson light. Far away, aboard a massive syndicate ship, a cold-eyed alien captain watched the feed. Target confirmed. The girl is alive, he growled. Deploy the hunters. Bring her in breathing. Her DNA must be preserved. The crew nodded, and within minutes, 3 fast gunships dropped through the clouds toward the planet below. Back on the ground, Aaron felt a faint vibration through the bike frame. He frowned, checking the scanners. Then the alarm beeped. 3 approaching signatures closing fast. Hold on! He shouted, slamming the throttle. The bike roared forward, kicking up clouds of dust as plasma bolts streaked past them, exploding into fire behind. Elira screamed, clutching his arm. They found us! Aaron veered sharply between the canyon walls, the engines howling as rocks shattered from the blasts. He guided the bike through narrow tunnels, weaving between boulders. Who are they? Elira cried. The ones your parents warned us about, he yelled, twisting the bike sideways as another bolt scorched the ground near them. One of the gunships swooped low, dropping metal claws that scraped the canyon floor. Aaron glanced back, eyes fierce. They're trying to net us. He pressed a hidden switch on the bike's handle. Its back thrusters flared, launching a burst of blue plasma that sent a wall of sand crashing into the enemy. For a moment, they lost sight of the pursuers. But Elira could feel it. The chase wasn't over. Why do they want me? She shouted over the roaring wind. Aaron didn't answer right away, his jaw tightening. He remembered the warning. Her DNA must be preserved. Maybe she carried something powerful, something her parents hid from the syndicate. Maybe she was more than just a lost girl. The bike jolted as a blast hit nearby. Knocking them sideways, they crashed behind a ridge. Rolling into the sand, Aaron pulled Elira close, covering her as debris rained down. Stay down, he said, pulling out his plasma sidearm. Through the smoke, 2 syndicate hunters landed, tall, armored figures with glowing visors. Their voices hissed through helmets. Hand over the girl, human. You are outnumbered. Aaron stood, eyes burning. You'll have to go through me first. The first hunter raised his weapon, but Aaron fired first, 2 sharp bursts that knocked him backward. The second lunged forward, swinging a blade of light. Aaron ducked, grabbed a rock, and slammed it into the alien's chest plate. Sparks flying? Elira gasped, tears streaming down her face. Stop, please! Her pendant glowed suddenly, brighter than before. A pulse of energy burst out from her, throwing both hunters backward as if hit by a shockwave. Aaron turned to her, stunned. What was that? Elira stared at her hands, trembling. I don't know, it just happened. The air around her shimmered faintly. The same energy that opened the vault now flickered through her skin. Aaron realized then, her parents hadn't just hidden her, they had enhanced her. Whatever she carried inside was something the syndicate feared, or desperately wanted. The silence was short-lived. A shadow passed overhead. The largest gunship was descending fast, its engines shaking the ground. Aaron grabbed Elira's arm, pulling her toward the nearby cave. Come on, move, he shouted. They ran inside just as the ship unleashed another barrage of plasma fire. The entrance collapsed behind them, sealing them inside darkness and dust. Panting, Aaron flicked on his wrist light. Elira looked up at him, frightened but determined. Will they find us? She whispered. Not for now, he said, lowering his voice. But we can't stay here long. We need to reach the human outpost. There's a ship there. If we can get it running, we might make it off-world. Elira nodded. Clutching her pendant in the dim light, her eyes glowed faintly golden, and the air hummed around her again. Aaron stepped back, realizing her power was awakening. Whatever it was, it could either save them or destroy them both. Far above the clouds, the syndicate captain received the latest feed. The drone's signal had gone dark inside the canyon. He narrowed his eyes. "Send the Reapers. I want that girl alive," he ordered. Then, turning toward the stars, he muttered, "No more waiting, little princess. The age of hiding is over." The cave was dark, silent, and cold. Only the faint hum from Elira's glowing pendant lit the walls. Dust drifted through the air, and every sound echoed like a whisper of ghosts. Aaron leaned against the stone wall, catching his breath, the plasma pistol still hot in his hand outside. Faint tremors shook the ground. The syndicate gunships were searching. Scanning the ridges, Elira sat on a rock, hugging her knees, her small frame trembling from exhaustion and fear. Her golden eyes reflected the blue glow of the pendant. "Are they still out there?" she asked, voice soft and shaky. Aaron nodded slowly. "Yeah, and they're not going to stop." He studied her face. She looked fragile, innocent, but he couldn't forget what happened earlier. That pulse of energy had thrown armored hunters through the air like paper. He crouched near her, keeping his tone calm. "Elira, what happened back there?" "How did you do that?" She shook her head. "I don't know. I felt scared. Then my pendant burned hot and everything went white." Aaron looked at the glowing charm, the same one that had opened her parents' vault. "It's not just jewelry," he said quietly. "It's connected to you somehow." She stared at it for a long time, remembering the hologram of her parents. Her mother's words echoed in her heart, "Trust no one from the syndicate." She took a deep breath. "Mama once told me I was born with something special, something people would want to use." Her voice cracked. "That's why they left me here, isn't it?" Aaron didn't answer. He didn't have to. Her tears said what words couldn't. He reached out, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "They didn't leave you because they wanted to," he said. "They left you because they had to keep you safe." Elira looked up at him, her eyes wide. "Then why do they still want me?" Aaron sighed, his expression turning grim. "Because whatever's inside you scares them." A deep rumble shook the cave, sand falling from the ceiling. Aaron turned off the light, pressing a finger to his lips. Through the cracks in the rock, he saw shadows moving outside. Syndicate drones sweeping searchlights across the canyon. Their mechanical voices echoed faintly. "Scan for thermal life signs. She must not escape." Elira's breath hitched, and Aaron covered her mouth gently. "Stay quiet," he whispered. "Don't even breathe too loud." The lights passed. The drones moved on. Minutes felt like hours before silence returned. Elira looked at him, whispering, "We can't stay here forever." He nodded. "We'll wait till nightfall." Then we moved toward the human outpost. He checked his wrist map. 3 days' travel through the canyon wastelands if they walked. No bike, no food, no backup. Just 2 fugitives against a galactic syndicate. As the hours passed, Aaron set up a small thermal shield to hide their heat signature. Elira finally drifted to sleep beside the cave wall. Her pendant dimming slowly, Aaron sat awake, thinking. He was just a miner, a man who had lost everything. He never thought he'd be protecting a child the galaxy wanted dead. But something inside him refused to abandon her. Maybe because she reminded him of his little sister back on Earth, the one he never got to save. Morning came with a dull red light creeping through the cracks. Aaron woke Elira and handed her a canteen. "Sip slow, it's all we've got." She nodded, smiling weakly. "Thank you." They began walking deeper through the tunnels, hoping to find another exit. The walls glowed faintly with alien minerals, and strange symbols were carved into the stone. Elira paused, tracing one with her fingers. "I've seen these before." "In my dreams." Aaron looked closer. The symbols matched the same markings from the vault. Suddenly the ground beneath them vibrated, and the walls shimmered like liquid glass. Before he could react, Elira's pendant glowed again, and the symbols pulsed brighter. A hidden door slid open, revealing a chamber filled with floating crystals and golden light. Aaron shielded his eyes. "What is this place?" Elira stepped forward, whispering, "It's calling to me." As she walked inside, the crystals hummed louder, forming shapes, memories. Holographic images flickered in the air. Her parents, the syndicate war, experiments, and a flash of her as a baby inside a glowing capsule. Aaron stared in shock. They used energy fusion tech on an unborn child? Elira turned to him, tears in her eyes. I'm not normal, am I? He shook his head. No, Elira. You're something far greater. Suddenly the light faded, replaced by a voice, a male voice, familiar and warm. Elira, if you found this, you are ready. Your heart controls the energy within you. But beware, the Syndicate will twist it for war. The message ended, leaving only the echo of her father's final words. Aaron clenched his fists, realizing what it meant. The Syndicate wasn't chasing her for revenge. They wanted her power to rebuild their weapon. The Stellar Core, a lost energy source strong enough to destroy worlds. Elira gasped. Then I'm the key. Aaron nodded slowly. And they won't stop until they have you. Before they could say more, the cave shook violently. An explosion roared above. Rocks crashed down as Syndicate troops broke through the upper tunnel, their lights flooding the chamber. Aaron grabbed Elira's hand, pulling her behind a pillar. They found us. Blaster fire lit the cave like lightning. Elira's pendant flared again, brighter than ever, humming like a heartbeat. Aaron shouted, Don't hold back this time. Whatever you did before, do it again. Elira closed her eyes, trembling, and the air filled with energy. A blinding wave of light burst out, sweeping through the cave. The Syndicate soldiers were thrown backward, their armor sparking, their weapons melting in their hands. When the light faded, Aaron turned to her. Elira stood at the center, eyes glowing gold, her pendant floating above her palm. She whispered softly, I didn't mean to. It just came. Aaron stepped closer, his voice calm but steady. Then we'll learn to control it together. Outside, the surviving Syndicate drones retreated, sending urgent transmissions to their captain. She's activated the core. She's awake, the report said, and high in orbit the captain smiled coldly. Good. Now the real hunt begins. Smoke drifted through the shattered tunnels as Aaron guided Elira out of the collapsing cave. The walls glowed faintly from the lingering energy she had released. Every rock hummed with power, her power, and it terrified and amazed him at the same time. Outside, the sky was dark again, clouds boiling with thunder as Syndicate gunships roared in the distance. Their escape had not gone unnoticed. Elira stumbled on the rocky path, clutching her pendant still glowing softly. I didn't mean to hurt them, she whispered. Her voice trembling, Aaron looked back at her, his face streaked with dust and blood. You didn't hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. Elira, they came to take you, remember that? She nodded slowly. Though her golden eyes were filled with guilt, he tightened his grip on his weapon. Scanning the ridges, we can't stop now. They'll be here any minute. They moved through the canyon's shadow. Every step echoing in the silence, the night air was cold. But sweat ran down Aaron's back. He could feel eyes on them. Drones, scanners, maybe even snipers. He remembered his days in the Earth Defense Corps. How it felt to be hunted, but this time wasn't a war. It was survival. After an hour of climbing, they reached an old mining shaft, abandoned and half-collapsed. Aaron pulled aside a rusted gate and waved her in. They crawled through the narrow tunnel until they found a small chamber lined with broken machinery. He dropped his pack and sighed. We'll rest here. Just for a bit, Elira sat down beside him, breathing heavily, her pendant dimming again. For a long moment they didn't speak. Only the faint hum of the wind outside filled the silence. Then Elira asked quietly, Aaron, why are you helping me? He looked up, surprised by the question. She continued, you could have left me back there, like everyone else did. He leaned back against the cold rock, staring at the ceiling. Because someone once helped me when I had nothing, he said softly, and I couldn't save them in return. Elira tilted her head. Who was it? He smiled faintly, a sad kind of smile. My sister. Back on Earth before the wars. She used to follow me everywhere, just like you do now. He paused, his voice breaking slightly. One day, the evacuation ships left without her. I swore I'd never let that happen to anyone else. Elira's eyes softened. Then maybe, you were meant to find me. Aaron looked at her, and for the first time in years, he almost believed in fate, but peace never lasted long. A faint mechanical chirp echoed from the canyon outside, followed by red lights sweeping across the rock walls. Aaron's heart froze. Tracking drones, dozens of them closing in, he grabbed Elira's hand. They've found us again, come on! They sprinted through the mine tunnel, their footsteps pounding on the metal floor. A sudden blast hit behind them, the entrance exploding in flames. Syndicate troopers poured in, their armor gleaming under the firelight. Aaron fired first, plasma bolts slicing through the smoke. He hit one soldier, then another, but there were too many. Elira hid behind a steel beam, clutching her pendant, her voice shaking. "Aaron, there's too many." He shouted back, "Stay down! Don't use your power yet, you'll bring the whole mountain down." Bullets and plasma bolts filled the air, lighting up the tunnel like a storm. Aaron moved with precision, his soldier instincts taking over. But even he knew it was only a matter of time before they were surrounded. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed above. The roof caved in, burying 2 syndicate soldiers under rocks. Aaron grabbed Elira and pulled her into a side passage, barely escaping another blast. They ran until the tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber. An old transport ship sat half buried in dust, a relic from the early mining days. Aaron's eyes widened. If this thing still works. He rushed to the cockpit, wiping dust off the controls. The screen flickered faintly, low power. Ancient systems, but still alive, Elira followed. Her pendant pulsing brighter near the core. Aaron stared at it. "Wait, can that thing power a ship?" She looked at the pendant, confused. I think it can try." He helped her place it against the reactor port, and the entire room lit up with golden light. Engines whirred, lights blinked, and the ship's system hummed back to life. Aaron grinned. "You're full of surprises, kid." But before they could celebrate, alarms blared. The syndicate had locked onto their signal. Outside, engines roared as gunships descended toward the mine. Elira looked at him, fear returning. "They're here!" Aaron grabbed the controls. "Then we're leaving." The old ship shuddered as it lifted off, dust swirling around them. Rocks crumbled from the ceiling. But the engines fought through the storm. As they burst through the surface, the night sky exploded with gunfire. Syndicate ships surrounded them, firing plasma bursts that shook the hull. Aaron shouted, "Hold on," as he spun the ship between the blasts. Elira closed her eyes, clutching her pendant again. The ship's shields glowed gold for a second, stronger than before. Aaron looked in awe. "You're doing that, aren't you?" She didn't answer, just focused, and the energy around her flared brighter. A beam of golden light shot from the ship's core, slicing through the enemy formation. One syndicate ship exploded, then another, clearing a path. Aaron pushed the throttle, the engines screaming. They soared higher and higher until the planet's sky fell away and stars filled the view. Elira gasped, tears in her eyes. "We made it. We're in space." Aaron smiled. "For now." Yes, but his eyes hardened, because far behind them, the massive syndicate flagship began to move on board. The alien captain watched their escape with cold fury. He turned to his lieutenant. "Prepare the war cruiser. If the human protects her, then the human dies with her." The stars reflected in his eyes like fire as he whispered, "She won't run forever." Stars stretched endlessly across the black void as the small transport ship drifted through space. Aaron sat in the pilot's seat, his hands gripping the controls, eyes fixed on the scanner screen. The red blip of the syndicate fleet pulsed behind them. Relentless and closing fast, every second felt heavier than the last. Every hum of the ship echoed like a ticking clock, counting down their lives. Elira sat quietly beside him, staring out the window at the glittering stars. Her reflection looked older than before, wiser, sadder, glowing faintly in the dim light. Her pendant rested against her chest, no longer pulsing, as if it too was tired from running. Aaron glanced at her. "You holding up okay?" She nodded softly. I never thought space could feel this empty." He smiled faintly. "That's because it's not empty, kid. It's full of people who stopped looking for home." The radar beeped again, sharper this time. Aaron's jaw tightened. "They're gaining," he muttered. Punching in coordinates, he scanned the star map, searching for somewhere to hide. The nearest planet was a cold gas giant. No refuge, no life, no chance. Then a faint transmission crackled through the static, barely a whisper at first. "And fleet distress. Code? EDC Alpha." Aaron froze. EDC Earth Defense Corps. His old unit's code, the one he hadn't heard in almost a decade. He turned up the volume, the voice clearer now. "This is Captain Reeves of the Earth vessel Valor's Edge. To any survivors, respond if you read this. We are adrift. Coordinates attached." Elira looked at him. "Earth people?" Aaron nodded slowly, his heart racing. If that signal's real, then there's still a human ship out here. He checked the data. The coordinates were in a dead sector, right near the nebula ahead. A perfect hiding place, but also the perfect trap. He hesitated, glancing at Elira. "It could be a trick." She met his eyes, calm and steady. Or it could be someone who can help us. He smiled faintly. You're starting to sound like me. Then he turned the ship toward the nebula. Let's find out. As they entered the glowing storm, colors swirled outside, violet clouds, electric streaks of light dancing like fire. The energy made the ship's hull crackle, every sensor blinking erratically. Aaron gritted his teeth, fighting to keep the controls steady. Hang on. This storm's going to fry our systems if we stay too long. Elira closed her eyes, focusing her pendant. It glowed softly. Stabilizing the ship's shields, Aaron looked at her in awe. How do you even know how to do that? She whispered. It feels like the stars are talking. I just listened through the static and light. A shape appeared ahead, a massive wreck drifting among the gas clouds. The name on the hull barely visible. UES Valor's Edge. Aaron's heart skipped. It's real. He slowed the ship and activated the floodlights, revealing a broken cruiser. Its hull torn open, but its engines faintly glowing. Elira whispered, Is anyone alive in there? Aaron scanned the frequencies. No life signs. But there's still power. Maybe the ship's AI is still active. They docked carefully and entered through the emergency hatch. The corridor was silent, filled with floating debris and frozen air. Old banners with Earth's blue insignia hung tattered on the walls. Aaron's boots echoed on metal floors as he whispered, I served on a ship like this once. Elira looked around in awe, touching a faded photo of humans smiling. They look like you. Yeah, Aaron said softly. They were my people. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed through the corridor. Unauthorized access detected. Identify yourself. Elira jumped, holding Aaron's arm. He raised his hands. Captain Aaron Cole, Earth Defense Corps, Serial 14-29, requesting link. The ship's AI paused, then replied. Voice match confirmed. Welcome back, Commander Cole. Aaron blinked. Commander? He muttered under his breath. That's
not possible. The lights flickered on and the ship's control room came alive.
Screens glowed, showing galaxy maps, coded messages, and something that made his blood freeze. A syndicate fleet trajectory. With Elira's name at the center, subject, Elira of Leora 9, the AI announced. Genetic sequence linked to Project Lumina. Containment priority, Alpha level. Elira stepped back, shaking her head. Project Lumina? What is that? Aaron read the file, his eyes widening. It says your parents were scientists working with humans. Your power came from a human-alien fusion project meant to create a living energy core. Elira's face went pale. So I'm a weapon? Aaron turned to her, his voice firm. No, you're proof that peace between our kinds was possible. That's why they wanted to destroy it. Before they could say more, alarms blared. Warning, hostile vessels entering proximity. Syndicate fleet inbound, the AI said. Aaron cursed under his breath. They tracked us through the nebula. He looked around, spotting the ship's weapon systems, still half active. He turned to Elira. We can't run this time. If they destroy this ship, they'll erase everything about your parents' work. She nodded, wiping her tears. Then we fight. Aaron moved to the controls, bringing the old cannons online. The ship groaned as power surged through ancient circuits. Outside, the first syndicate gunships broke through the nebula clouds, plasma fire lighting up the dark. Aaron's fingers flew across the controls. Come on, old girl. Just one more fight. Elira stood beside him, her pendant glowing brighter, linking with the ship's reactor. The entire cruiser trembled as golden light spread through the engines. Aaron grinned. That's it. You're boosting the core. The ship roared to life, firing massive energy beams that cut through the syndicate formation. Explosions bloomed across the stars. Elira gasped as her power fused with the ship completely. She could feel everything, every pulse of energy, every flicker of light. Aaron shouted over the rumbling, Don't lose control, Elira. Focus it! Her eyes glowed gold, her voice steady now. I'm not afraid anymore. In one final burst, she unleashed the full power of the Lumina core. A wave of golden light erupted from the ship, vaporizing the enemy fleet and clearing the nebula in a single blinding flash. When the light faded, silence filled the stars. The syndicate fleet was gone. Aaron looked at her, stunned. You did it. Elira smiled, faintly exhausted. We did it. But as the ship's systems dimmed, One final alert blinked on the screen. Transmission sent. Location beacon activated. Unknown recipient. Aaron's face darkened. Someone else knows where we are. Elira looked at him, fear returning. Who? He stared out into the stars, his voice low. If I'm right, someone far worse than the Syndicate. The golden light of the explosion slowly faded into the endless dark. The wreck of the Valor's Edge drifted quietly among the stars, glowing faintly from Elira's energy for a few moments. There was only silence, no enemy ships, no gunfire, just the soft hum of the engines. Aaron sat slumped in the pilot's seat, breathing heavily, his hand still gripping the controls. Elira sat beside him, pale and trembling, her pendant dim again. The glow had left her, replaced by exhaustion and something heavier. Fear of what she had just done. She looked up at Aaron, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't mean to destroy them all. Aaron looked at her, his tone calm but firm. You didn't destroy them, Elira. You saved us. Her eyes glistened, but they were still living beings. He nodded slowly. Sometimes survival doesn't leave us choices. You did what you had to do. She lowered her gaze, her small hands clutching the pendant that now felt heavier than ever. The ship's computer beeped softly. Warning. Unknown signal detected. Source approaching at sublight speed. Aaron frowned. Turning to the radar, the blip was large. Too large to be another Syndicate vessel. And it wasn't broadcasting any known military code. He leaned closer, muttering, That's not them. It's something else, Elira whispered. The beacon. Aaron's heart sank. He had forgotten. The final transmission sent by the ship before the battle. He quickly switched off the main lights, plunging the bridge into darkness. Stay quiet, he said. If they're hostile, we'll ghost them. The ship floated silently among the stars, its engines cold through the viewport. They saw it. A vast silhouette emerging from the nebula, sleek silver hulls glowing softly, marked with blue symbols neither of them recognized. It wasn't Syndicate design, and it wasn't human either. A transmission buzzed to life. Unidentified vessel. Respond immediately. This is the Leoran High Command. Elira's breath caught in her throat. Leoran, she whispered. That's my homeworld. Aaron blinked, stunned. You mean? Her eyes filled with tears. My parents' people. The voice repeated, sharper this time. Respond or we will initiate boarding sequence. Aaron hesitated for a second, then opened the channel. This is Commander Aaron Cole, Earth Defense Corps. I'm escorting a survivor, Elira of Leora 9. A long silence followed. Then the voice softened. Elira is alive. Elira stepped closer to the comms mic, her voice trembling. Yes, it's me. There was a pause, then the tone changed, full of emotion. Child, we have searched for you for years, the voice said. Hold your position, we're coming aboard. Minutes later, a boarding light cut across the ship's hull, and figures entered, Leorans in silver armor with glowing eyes like Elira's. They looked around cautiously before lowering their weapons. The leader, an older alien with faint scars across his face, approached her. He fell to one knee, his voice shaking. By the stars. The daughter of Aaron and Loom lives, Elira froze. You knew my parents? He nodded, his eyes misty. I served under them. They were heroes who tried to unite humans and Leorans before the Syndicate betrayed us all. Aaron stood aside. Watching quietly, he could see the relief in Elira's eyes, the years of waiting, the loneliness all melting away. But the soldier's next words made his stomach tighten. Your parents' legacy is not safe yet. The power within you, the Lumina core, cannot stay unguarded. The Council will want to contain it. Elira stepped back, fear flashing in her eyes. Contain it. Aaron moved closer, his voice steady but firm. No one is locking her away. Not again. The Leoran officer turned to him, frowning. Human, you don't understand what she carries. That power could reignite a war. Aaron crossed his arms. Then teach her to control it instead of fearing it. The officer studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Perhaps you are right. Her parents once said humans see light where others see danger. He turned to Elira. Come, child, let us bring you home. Elira looked at Aaron, her voice breaking. You'll come with me, right? He smiled gently. No, kid. You belong with your people now. Tears filled her eyes. But you're my family, too. He knelt in front of her, resting a hand on her shoulder. Family isn't about where you come from. It's about who stays when everyone else leaves. And I'll always be here wherever you go. The Leorans prepared their transport, and Elira walked to the ramp before leaving. She turned back one last time, holding up her pendant. Its faint golden glow reflected on Aaron's face. "Thank you," she said softly, "for making me believe again." He smiled, trying not to let her see the tear in his eye. "You already had that belief, Elira. You just needed someone to remind you." As the Leoran ship lifted away, Aaron stood alone on the empty deck of the Valor's Edge. He watched the silver vessel disappear among the stars. For the first time in years, he didn't feel lost. He felt complete. The AI's voice broke the silence. "Commander Cole, message received from Leoran vessel Eternal Dawn. Would you like to hear it?" Aaron nodded quietly. Elira's voice came through the speaker, soft and full of warmth. "Hey, Aaron. I made it. They told me stories about my parents, about how they wanted peace. I think that's what I'm meant to do now. To finish what they started. And I'll never forget the human who showed me what kindness feels like. Goodbye for now. My brother among the stars," Aaron smiled. Sitting back in the chair, the stars stretched out before him. Endless and beautiful, and somewhere far away, a small silver ship carried a girl who had waited years for her parents. Now she finally had a family again, because a human refused to walk away.